some music. Let's play a video from y'all. Let's play. You know what? I'll let you pick because we got the Pin, Lonely Piano, Rare Breed, and Legendary.
Let's do Rare Breed.
Let's do Rare Breed.
That video was fun.
Because you guys, I'm like, I got the videos, I got everything going, and that's what we really want to get into is like what goes on after that point.
Okay.
Just pulling up Rare Breed now.
No doubt about it. You shouldn't do without it. It'll make you
That's the intro. We'll rock with that.
Picture a solitary figure approaching the spotlight and a mic stand. Mic tight in his right hand, thinking of something to say that might incite fans. For the thousands in attendance and the millions at home that have been moved by the brilliance. If you're lucky, this is something that you'll only get to witness once or twice in a lifespan. 20 years from the start, 10 removed when the redefining groove hit the charts. Universally acclaimed, who are certified and specializing in bad.
All right, now we have a number of videos from you, but we wanted to at least see one just to see all in action, and then let's get back to continuing your story. So you're here, you're saying you guys still hadn't signed. You've seen some of the pitfalls that other people have experienced. It's like the Tribe Called Quest, especially you talk about Jive Records. I mean, at that time, was UGK talking about how bad the like you have a number of people coming out that like, yo, like what I signed ain't working for me, and now I'm making no money.
Right.
Like that's it. So where are you guys at now?
So at this time, we are actually forming partnerships with distributors. So we're actually distributing our music directly with like Caroline Distribution, which was another relatively large independent distributor, and another one that's escaped. Fat Beats, we were distributed through them, and one more, but I can't remember right now. But through our agreement with Caroline, we were approached by an independent label, Bronx Science Records, to release a project. And what appealed to us regarding the Bronx Science was that they just wanted to sign us to a 1-album deal.
Okay.
And we're like, okay, this is, along the lines of what we were looking for. More specifically, it was 3 singles and an album. And they were going to give us an advance and all this. And our expectations were not that they would do for us what a larger label like Jive or Elektra or someone would do. But what Bronx Science was able to do is that they could more effectively target the more indie audience that we had. They were able to target more of the mom and pop shops, and most importantly, they had a presence overseas as well in Europe.
Okay.
With that said, fuck Bronx Science.
What happened? Why?
Let me bring it back. So what I am thankful for is they were able to put our Universal album in rotation worldwide. We sold, by our estimates, about 40,000 units, which was
That's good.
It's respectful at the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
However, they used 2 different UPC codes, so we only got paid for 1,500 of them. But it is what it is.
Oh,
It is what it is. They got us on that. But they opened us up to an international audience, which was something that we had not been able to do up to that time. Everything that we did was in the States, and it was mostly college towns and a couple of the larger markets. But they actually introduced us to the international market. So Paris and Germany, I say Paris like it's a country, France, Germany, and most of the other European states, they opened us up to, as well as Japan. So because of that, even though we didn't make a dime off of the sales from Bronx Science, it allowed us to finally tour internationally. So like in 2001, we went to Japan with DJ Cash Money and spent about 2 weeks out there. And then in 2002, 2003, and 2004, we were able to tour in Europe about a month each time. Fun fact. We are the first hip hop group in Houston to ever tour internationally.
Really?
That's a big feat, man. Congratulations.
It's a huge feat.
I have to throw that up there. Before the Ghetto Boys, before even the later cats like Paul Wall, Slim Thug, we were the first hip hop act to tour internationally from Houston.
Oh, that's incredible.
That's really good.
So,
oh,
and it was actually a learning experience for us because a lot of people out there obviously didn't know. They had no idea, especially internationally, didn't have any idea of what Houston was. They thought a lot of people thought it was a suburb of New York because of the way we sounded.
Okay.
And
That makes sense.
And we had to talk to them about Texas, and in 02 and 03 the reference point was George Bush at the time. So where George Bush is from, we don't fuck with him. But we had to go through the whole cowboys and Indian stereotypes and all that. But it was a good learning experience for both sides because we got to show people that Houston was a very normal place, just like everything else. So that was 02, 03, 04. And then in 03, or was it 04, we got to headline the Hip Hop Kemp Music Festival in Prague.
That was a huge. How many people was that?
About 11,000.
11,000 people.
That's amazing.
And what's crazy is we didn't know until we got there that we were actually headlining the festival. This was the second year of the festival, and I want to say the first year they said that the festival only did okay. I think they said the problem was they closed out kind of weak. I think that last night closed out kind of weak. And they brought us in. Again, we didn't know this till we got there. They brought us in to have a stronger close to it because the year before, people were just leaving the entire last day. So we had no idea that kind of pressure was on us. And we went out there and we it was, to this day, that was my favorite show that we've ever done. And because of that, they were able to get more sponsors for the next year, and they went on to have other headliners like The Roots, Method Man, Redman. I think Wu-Tang did one year. So they were able to bring in bigger acts because they had enough faith that they could carry it on based on the strength of our performance.
That's good.
Yeah. I wish we would have asked for more money for it at the time, but it was really about the experience more than anything.
And what year was that?
That was either 03 or 04.
03, 04. So now we're 03 and 4. K-Otix, you released an album now, even though it's with this particular record label that you don't like. But
and then, in 2000 we released one with them, and then in 02 we released the Black Album independently. In 03 we released a project called Ethos, which was more of a compilation, but we still released that one ourselves as well. And then in 04, once we stopped touring, we decided to start working on the proper follow-up to Universal. And then that's kind of when things started to change a little bit. So in 2004, at this point, we'd been a group for 12 years.
yeah,
And one of the things that we came across, and it was kind of a wall that we hit, was both on the writing side and on the producing side, neither of us had ever worked with anybody else. We'd always only worked with each other. And for some of the music that we were working on at the time, we were always heavily into getting feedback from people throughout different stages of the process. A lot of people were saying, it's starting to kind of sound the same, starting to sound formulaic. You guys need to figure out a way to switch it up because, even though our Universal album was well received, there was some criticism that after a while it started to sound the same. We had 20 songs in that album.
okay,
So the songs started to sound the same. And we got 14, we done 14 songs for a new project. And we kind of sat down one day and listened to it, and we were like, shit. We've hit a wall of creativity. We can't get over this hump of not making the shit sound formulaic. So in July of 2004, we, I went to Starbucks and met with the producer, and we had to talk about it. And we said, why don't we spend a couple years working with different people? Not worrying about working on our music or whatever right now, but working with different people so that from a writing standpoint, we can grow, and from a production standpoint, you can grow as well. And then somewhere down the line, we'll come back to it. And what came out of that was the R was able to, he went on to compete in like the Red Bull Beat Battle, won that. He eventually signed with Trackmasters as a producer, and he went on to produce for like Lil' Kim, Keisha Cole, LL Cool J, and quite a few other people.
Okay.
In addition to working on other projects with other people that he'd been wanting to work with, like Dave from De La Soul and a few other people. I went with my boy FWMJ, and we helped to start Rappers I Know, which was a collective of talent from around the country, including ourselves, who wanted a platform for greater visibility.
Great name, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't come up with it. Frank came up with it. Shout out to Frank. rappersiknow.com. And that platform was cool because it launched a lot of people who have gone on to do other things in music. Like Jake One, Symbolic One, who produced Power for Kanye.
Yeah.
That's the homie. Jay Electronica,
Wow.
who's never releasing an album, y'all. So stop asking about it. He's never.
I don't
releasing
think people are
He's a
asking anymore.
Rothschild. Like,
I don't think people are
Yeah.
asking anymore. Like it is what it is.
Those
He
are
can't
some
really
three
hit.
hitters, though.
Yeah.
Jake One.
They are.
Symbolic One.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
a big fan of Jake One.
Yep. Also, and I promise, this Rappers I Know was probably, if not the first, it was one of the first blogs to feature music from Drake.
Oh, that's awesome.
A very, very, very young Drake. Before his first mixtape came out, there were a few songs that were hosted on there as well. And I remember we were laughing like, this dude sounds soft, man.
And lo and behold,
Yeah.
all of rap music now.
Yeah.
And he brought in the wave.
And he brought it, because there was a guy that contributed to the site, to the blog, who was from Canada. I can't remember his name, and he would always put on Canadian artists, and we were like, man, this shit is trash.
I don't want to hear Cardinal Official.
Yeah. Oh man.
I know you heard a lot of that.
Too much. Like we had to disable some of those posts.
Yeah.
And then you put on Drake. We were like, come on, man, what is this shit? And now like Drake is one of
The top. Yeah.
he's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
He's one of my favorites too. It's hard to
let's
say.
not get around it.
Yeah.
Let's not get around it.
I don't really say that publicly, I feel like
This ain't public.
I got to do some push-ups. So that's what came out of that. So we were able to kind of broaden our horizons in a lot of ways. And then finally, 12 years later, we came back and did a project called Legendary.
And that one came out in what year?
2016.
Okay.
Yeah,
So yeah,
2016.
many years later, many lifetimes later.
Because we're talking about you went from 2000. You had this Starbucks conversation
in 04.
in 04. You're like, hey,
Starbucks first was
we
coming out.
kind of I had it at a small coffee shop. I think it was called Starbucks.
Yeah.
This was one of them. And so in 2004, you're like, hey, let's try this out for a little bit, work with some other people. And then lo and behold, you guys develop careers out of this.
Yeah.
Doing the other stuff.
Doing
And
the
then-
other stuff, yeah.
Yeah. And then in 2016, y'all are like, okay, did y'all miss it, or were y'all just what was it? What makes y'all say, hey, it's been almost 2 decades?
The funny part is we had the conversation about that project in like 2010.
Okay.
And we were just, it was just one of those things we were catching up, and we were just like, man, what would it be like if we did a project right now?
Okay.
And we kind of, we just kind of felt it out a little bit, and it was weird because everything just kind of fell into place. And it was just a matter of us kind of getting our schedules together because, again, at this time, the R is still doing Trackmaster stuff. Mike he's teaching at this point and doing a very good job in the educational world as well. Like that's still his passion to today. And I had started diving more into filming and videography. So we had to wait kind of for our schedule to coincide. And then in 2013, we did a show. This is before the album was even done. We did a show at Fitzgerald's, rest in piss. And that really reignited it because it was the first time that we had been on stage together since like 04.
Okay.
So like 9 years. And we didn't rehearse for it or anything, and that shit just went off without a hitch. And so we were like, yeah, we need to go ahead and do this album then and get it done. So like in 2016, we released it, and that was that. And we don't, it's weird because people are like, so what are y'all doing next? I'm like, don't really know. We don't. We're kind of at a place in our lives where we don't need to.
Yeah.
But if we want to, we can do it.
Yeah.
And it is interesting when an artist gets to a we don't need to point.
Yeah.
You can tell where it comes in, people saw Jay when you reached it. I'm always like, Drake is definitely at a we don't need to point.
Yeah.
Like
They're in
you
a higher
can-
tax
you
bracket
can-
than I am.
Oh, very
when it
much
comes
so.
to
But
that.
I'm saying you can see an artist. There are certain artists where it's like, I don't really need to do like the, that kind of thing. Not that I don't want to say the hunger's not there, but it's just a different perspective here. Where I'm like, I don't really have to come out.
You know what's tough though? For me, it's tough seeing. One of the reasons why I don't like to watch a lot of performers that I grew up watching perform now is because I feel like a lot of them are caught in this. I have to perform because I have to.
Like the boxer that's boxing like too many rounds.
Yeah.
Like you're like, you don't have to do this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's like, yeah, I do.
Like
Yeah.
I honestly, I feel like this might be sacrilegious to say. I feel like when I see Rakim perform now, Rakim is most likely in a very good place right now. But there have been times over the last 5 years or so when I've seen him perform where I feel like he's only doing this because he has to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like this is his plan A and his plan B.
Yeah.
For groups like De La Soul, whose pretty much entire catalogs have been held hostage and they can't monetize their catalogs, De La Soul has to hit the road every year or so in order to make ends meet.
Absolutely.
And I never wanted to be personally. I never wanted to be in that position. So yeah, it's a good feeling to wake up and say, well, I don't have to do this.
Yeah.
If I don't want to.
Now, rappers I know,
Yep.
you kept up with that.
Mm-hmm.
And then tell us about Ill Mannered Media.
Okay. Ill Mannered Media was it started off as really my videography company. Back in I think 2010, when I got laid off from a job, I decided that I wanted to do video full time. And the reason I really wanted to get into video, honestly, was because as a musician coming up, we always wanted to do videos but could not afford them. We couldn't afford to have anyone shoot. And I always said that one day I would get the equipment necessary to where we didn't have to ask anyone to do it. So in 2010, I kind of got my shit together after I got laid off. And I said, I'm going to form a company, start doing video.
Yeah.
The name Ill Mannered Media came up as a pure accident. At the time,
It had nothing to do with Nas Illmatic. Nothing.
nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with it. That's another story.
We here for him.
Yeah, I was messing around online one day, and there was an anagram program or whatever, where if you type in a word or a series of words, it'll tell you what other words could be made out of it. So I typed in my first, middle, and last name, and out of that came Ill Mannered Media.
Really?
Oh. You got a Childish
that's
Gambino
dope.
story.
Yeah,
No, that's
Yeah.
dope. No,
Yeah.
that's better than a child.
That is
Childish
better.
Gambino was a Wu-Tang name generator. That's why
That just came out of nowhere.
I had
man. That-
that's why I had Osiris 1980 at Yahoo for a long time.
Yeah, really?
But yeah, no, this is Ill Mannered Media. That's a much better
Anagram?
story.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
pretty good.
It's an anagram for my full name. And that the very next day, I went and registered that name. I was like, "This is fate."
It's a sign from God.
Yeah, and I went and registered it, and I was like, "Yeah, that means I need to do it." And it started off as video, and over the years, it has been a house for whatever I do creatively, whether it's production, which I've done a little bit of, not as much lately. Also for podcasting as well.
Because we saw you in the Houston Press article.
Yeah.
Feature you pretty heavily.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Houston Chronicle article.
Yeah.
I'm thinking Press because,
Yeah.
my bad. But Houston Chronicle, I mean, they
Shameless
feature you pretty heavily.